children and women and humans in general are very resilient, and like believing in that and knowing that like this is a new day, this is a new moment, and you can always make a different decision, and we don't have to worry about all the decisions that we made or that we're hard on ourselves if we didn't do enough, because just being there and loving your children through loving yourself is 99% of what you have to do in order to be successful, really, like have children that are going to be good people.
Step right up, folks. You're now entering It's a Circus, where parenting isn't always a show stopping act, but it's certainly entertaining. I'm your host, Elsa, here to prove that no one really knows what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. Let's have some real conversations, peel back the layers, and remind you that you're never alone in the madness. Let's get the show rolling. Okay, I cannot wait for you all to hear this episode. It is amazing, and it has stuck with me forever, and I am so happy to have been in this woman's presence. This is Priscilla. She is the founder of My Musical Theater and the founder and director of Sarasota Cabaret Community. This is amazing. The story and how she describes motherhood. She is a mom of 7 and a grandma of 1. So lots to unpack here. This one's going to leave you feeling very inspired. And Priscilla actually has an event coming up here for the cabaret. And if you'd like to be a part of it, I'll have all of that information linked in the show notes. But very excited for this episode. Also, if you find this episode exciting, please share it with a friend, share it on your socials. I am so excited to get Priscilla's message out there and just the beautiful community and podcast we are building together about sharing women's stories. So share away. Without further ado, I could not be more honored and thrilled to introduce you to Priscilla. Hello, Priscilla. Thank you. And welcome to It's a Circus podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited about this.
So am I. And while the first question I ask everyone and kick it off is, who are you a mom of? How long have you been a mom for? And have you always wanted to be a mother?
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty big question, or a couple questions. So, I have 7 children, and ranging in age from 6 to 21. I'm actually a grandmother, so and that counts. To a little grandson, and I have actually always wanted to be a mother. So, as far back as I can remember, I have really just gravitated towards big families. In a I was an only child, and I was raised by a single mom. So anytime I got a chance to see big families, my best friend was in a family with 8 children, and I thought, what is this? This is what I want. This is the best thing ever. So,
Yeah.
yes, I've always wanted to be a mom, and that was never a question in my mind. And then there was another question. What was the third one? I missed the middle one.
Um, no, I think you got all of them. Who are you a mom of? And you told me. And then how long you have been a mom for? And have you always
Okay.
wanted to be one? So yes.
Yeah, so I had my first baby when I was 27.
Oh my gosh. Okay. For real, you are the hottest grandma I've ever seen in my life. And I still like don't even understand how that is all possible. And I love it. So yes, take us to the beginning. Was this something planned? It sounds like you've always wanted a big family, but like how did this all happen? How did this unfold?
So really before I had my first child, I had never held a baby before, maybe like for one, maybe for 30 minutes in my life. I love children. I always babysat. I was that fun babysitter that loved to play with the kids and get in there um, and I had so my husband was my high school sweetheart. We knew each other since we were tiny, kids playing, climbing trees together. Um, and then started dating in high school. Um, then we broke up for a little while, but stayed really good friends. And then one day I just thought to myself, like, well, we're such best friends. We should just be together. Plus, I want to have children. I kept trying to see who could I have kids with, and it just kind of came down to him. And so I went to his door. I went over to his house one day and I said, we should just get together. And do you want to have babies with me? And he's like, yes, okay. So then, um, that kind of, I don't think it was more me than him as far as like, I don't think he knew the scope of what we were going to do. I didn't either. After my first baby, I remember in the hospital because I had a huge hemorrhage and bled out everywhere. So I went into it thinking, this is going to be great. I'm so excited. And then it was so difficult. And I thought, oh my gosh, no, I can't do this again. So I was said to him, I changed my mind. Can you please like take back everything I said about having a lot of kids? And he's like, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm like wheeling into the next room, bleeding everywhere. I'm like, please. And, um, and so at first, I wanted to have a lot of kids, and then after having the first child, it was a lot. It was hard, and we kind of thought, well, maybe we'll have 2, so we did, and after that, it was like 1 more, and then 1 more, we had twins, and it just was after that, I said, "It doesn't have as many as we can." So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so one, I love it. And Priscilla, you are breaking records on this podcast. This is the mom that has the most kids. So I've got to like dive in because I'm sure you get this question all the time is how do you do it? How all of the hows that I'm sure you get every single day. If you could, answer that or have you rehearsed an answer because I'm sure you get it all the time. What is that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
People usually like when they hear I have
Mhm.
7 children, "Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I can't even deal with my 1 or 2," or things like
Yeah.
that, and I always say, like, "I get that." It's wherever you are. Like I said, the first one was very challenging, and for me, I was new to it, so, I went into it with high hopes, and then it was a lot harder than I thought, but I think that I guess the the most important focus point that I always have is having fun and taking care of myself, and, um, not I'm not a helicopter parent, and I think that really helps because, I say that I shouldn't even really use that term because it kind of has a negative connotation, but some people really feel they want to do they wanna do every single thing for their kids, and I think it's beautiful. It's not wrong. Any way we parent is as long as it's coming from who you are and something you love, it's great, but I think to have a lot of children and to handle a lot, you have to take a step back and allow them to take a lot of responsibilities and teach them so that they can do things when you're not around or to help one another. And then not get too hung up on all the little things. So, your house may not be perfectly clean all the time. So if you have, so these are things in a way, it's it's kind of letting go of control, which can be hard. And I think it's a good practice. Like I feel like being a mom and then having more children, you just have to become better and better at um, letting go and seeing how things unfold. And the more you hold on to each child, each thing they do, and putting a lot of pressure on yourself, um, I think that's where the suffering comes in. Yeah.
Ugh, that is just like such wise words. And I think when I think about my own personal journey, you're right. A lot of that suffering is like self inflicted from, I don't know, how you think something should be, how you actually are, how all of this. And then if you just were looking at the facts, it's like, oh, it's a baby. But like in
Yeah.
the moment, it does not feel like that.
Yes. I'll give you an example of that. So, and I think this is where I have been able to take on a lot of things in my life because, I grew up, my mom was very regimented and, the house had to be spotless. There couldn't be a crumb dropped on a plate. So I saw her suffer. She was getting every single spot out of my clothing. I had to have, everything matching my outfit. She would lay them out for me. She did all of these things. And I thought, I didn't even care, it didn't matter to me, like, I could walk out the house however, and, but she wanted it was her need for the perfection,
Yeah.
but she didn't do it out of love, she did it out of, I would hear her at night when I'd go to sleep, she was talking to herself, "I can't believe Priscilla did this. Her drawers are a mess, I can't believe," she's refolding them and putting them in, staying up till all hours of the night, and I'm thinking, that doesn't seem fun to me. Why?
Yeah.
That's not like, and so as a parent, I just thought, well, I want my kids to be creative. So it means that when I'm cooking, I might put a bowl of flour on the floor with some spoons for my baby and let them sit there and just literally make. So it takes more time in the end to clean up, but I had that peaceful, everybody was peaceful as we were doing things. And then we'd make cleanup fun, sing a song or put, I don't know, Pippi Longstocking, that scrubbing day is a holiday. We'd sing around the house and do that. So, so, but yeah, I think it's something we put on ourselves that doesn't, it's it's a lot of stress, and I know to get kids even out of the house with shoes on, half the time we'd get somewhere and I'd say, two of my kids didn't have shoes. And oh, okay. Like, I'm like, you walked out of the house. They're like, well, I didn't know. I forgot. And I thought, okay, well, they don't have shoes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is wild. Okay, tell us about um so your first birth sounds like was kind of like baptism fire. So tell us like what was the healing past that? And then what was that thought of trying again?
Yeah, so I had a water birth, which was very beautiful in a hospital with midwives in New Jersey. And I didn't want anything medical and I went through the whole process. And I was very strong. I got out of the water. I carried the baby over there. They're like, oh, okay, here she's going. I don't know where she's going. I was like, I heard somebody say, she's probably needs to get on the bed. So I jumped out, get on there. And then the next thing I know, um, I'm bleeding and having a post, partum hemorrhage. And it's just like the whole place is, felt like they were punching me in the stomach to try to squeeze my uterus to like um, contract. And then I was left there because in those days, at least at this hospital in 2004, it was they said, "Okay, visiting hours are over." It was like 3 hours after I'd given birth, and they made my husband leave. And I was by myself. I was green. I wasn't even white. I was green from loss of blood. Nobody gave me an extra blood. They were just like, "See ya." And I had, like, a woman next to me in the same room. So I was, like, with this woman, and she was older, and she was so annoyed by me. She was like, "Just put the baby in the just have them take the baby out of here. I'm trying to sleep." And I was like, "I don't wanna leave my baby." I was trying to nurse, and then I kept passing out, and they kept giving me smelling salts to wake me up, and I'm like, "Okay." So, it was I had a lot of postpartum, headaches, and then I think that caused depression, lack of sleep, all of those things, but I bounced back, and I knew I always wanted another baby. I knew I was gonna have more than one. Um, and this time we kind of figured out why I had hemorrhaged, and so they were able to help me the next time not have that happen. But the water birth itself was so great compared to the second birth. I also birthed this one at a, birthing center, but then it was like, "Oh," because I birthed on the bed, and it was like the ring of fire. I was like, "Oh, that's why they call it the ring of fire." I never felt it in the water. I was like, "That
Wow.
it was so much better." I mean,
Mhm,
I didn't feel any of that, and, yeah, so but that was actually a really easy birth, the second one,
mhm.
comparatively. I mean, as births could be easy, but,
Right,
like,
right.
comparatively.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Oh my
yes.
gosh. Okay. I mean, can you walk us through just the births? Because I think that's um part of talking to people. And you tell me, Priscilla, because you have 7 under your belt. But, you know, there is this healing that happens when we get to share our birth story. And oftentimes that's not something that comes up in normal conversation. But I know that for people listening, hearing about births and how they go is so fascinating and can be so healing, whether it is more easier, which whatever that means. Um, I'd love to hear. Did you have a medicated birth at all, or did you do all of them
I
natural?
did, but I will tell you I did end up having, like, different kinds of births, so I
Yeah.
have kind of experienced, almost every kind, but, um, my 3rd baby, um, which there's 5 years apart because from my
Wow.
2nd to my 3rd, because I was not sure about having another one, and I really interviewed all my friends who had more than 2, and I thought, I'm
Yeah.
like, do you regret it?" I'm like, "No, who's gonna tell me they regretted it?" But
Yeah.
I really was asking them, like, "Really? Like, why did you and how does it affect you?" So anyway, I decided we we kind of made the decision. We said, "Well, this could be like the biggest mistake ever, but we're gonna do it anyway." So, um, but that birth, I was actually very afraid of giving birth. Not the first time because I had no idea what I was getting into, but the second one, I knew, and then it was very scary to me. The third one, I was also scared knowing going into it, even though it was I had a water birth, and I went in. I remember crying when I got there and I saw the pool, and it was like, there's no turning back. And a lot of people think because I've had a lot of children that somehow the pregnancy was easy, the birth was easy, that it just was nothing for me. But it actually, all of it was probably the scariest thing I could have ever done. I was terrified. So I really felt like I didn't want to do it. I would get there, I got to that birth, and I thought, I don't wanna do this. Like, I can't go through with this, it's just too much. It's too scary. It feels like I could die, and it's just the pain knowing what you're going into is just very scary. And, I had thought a lot about the fact that the fear itself was the thing that scared me the most. in my 2 first births, I had panicked a lot, and when I would feel the pain coming up, it scared me so much, and I would be like, "I can't do this, I can't do it," and that panic was the thing that scared me. I had heard a lot about hypnobirthing, but um, actually at that time I had become a postpartum and a birth doula. So I had already started helping people through birth
Mhm.
and afterwards. So I'd seen a lot and learned a lot. And I knew that my own mind was the thing that was getting in the way because my body could do it. It was just the fear scared me. So I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm in the moment that I was laying there and I started to feel like in the water and I started to feel this is my third birth, the pains getting stronger and stronger where I would normally start to panic a little and feel really scared and want to do something like, hey, my husband, like squeeze my hips this way, do this, I've got to move this way, I've got to do something. And instead, something just came to me to just step back and allow. And so I closed my eyes and put my head on the pool, edge of the pool, that the blow up, birthing tub. And I laid back and I just closed my eyes and I could feel the contractions getting stronger and stronger. And I noticed that if any part of me thought or tensed my body, even like my pinky, if I started to tense something, that the pain would get way stronger and overwhelming to me. But if I just, every time the pain came up, I completely relaxed every single muscle in my body and just watched it with awe and amazement that my body, this is the pain. I just kept thinking, this is what it feels like to give birth. This is my body doing what it needs to do to give birth. I wasn't thinking, this is pain. I don't know if I can get through it. How am I going to get rid of this pain? How can I do something to make it less? I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And it was about 2 hours I laid there, and then I started to feel the baby coming out, and I had my eyes closed, and I said, "The baby's coming." And the midwife had been sitting there, and people in there, and she said, "Oh, honey, you've been sleeping. Your labor has stalled, and you've been sleeping, so." And I said, "No, the baby's coming." And she was like, "Okay, well, let me just check." By the time she didn't even get gloves on, nothing. And she's looked down, she goes, the baby is coming. And he came out actually right then, only then did the water break. And it was like he came out like on a little water slide, came out,
Wow.
and it was like not, she didn't have time to put gloves on before the baby came out. And I would say that was the biggest teacher, the lesson which taught me how important it is to trust our bodies and take a step back and not try to control or change everything to make it easier. That it was really, I had to just go fully in and experience because I was feeling all the pain that I ever had felt.
Right.
It's just, I'm not reacting to it in the same way.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
That is mind-blowing and, I mean, absolutely incredible. So and how did you feel after all of that too? I mean, what a
It
yeah,
was
go
amazing.
yeah.
I mean, it was, I really couldn't believe that I had done that. It was probably the biggest accomplishment of my life to be faced with something that there was no difference in the pain from the other ones where I'd panicked and said, "I gotta get out of here. Let me out of here." Like I'm dying. And being able to control my body and recognize that I can feel the pain. I can feel things and not numb myself to it, truly feel it, experience it, be present for it, um, but not have to. and this goes to anything, this is all of life as it comes, and go, wow, okay, this is an experience that I've never experienced before, or this is something I want to feel so that I know what it feels like, that I'm really here in my body doing this thing, and not feeling, forced or just getting through it, like white knuckling myself through something, but like actually showing up.
That is
Yeah.
incredible. And what a beautiful lesson. And what a beautiful, just, I mean, again, it's so wild that like the birthing process in general is such a metaphor for us like entering motherhood. And when you talk about this being your third one after the first two being so scared, that's just what a beautiful story. And then you decided to have more.
Yeah, so we decided, okay, well, how about one more? And then I got pregnant with twins. So, and a lot of people think, "Oh, you must have had everybody must have been so happy or helpful." And, my family, I didn't come from a family that was very, like, wanting me to have lots of babies or excited about all of that. They were great. They were there for me in the end, but when we had the kids, and they love all my kids, but, um, it wasn't their idea of, like, maybe the best thing to do.
Right.
Um, so I got pregnant, and, my in-laws and my mother said things like, "Oh my gosh, you're never gonna sleep again. Oh, like, don't expect me to be there for everything." So it was scary going into twins for sure. Um, decided I don't think I wish I wouldn't have, but I don't think I needed to decide this. It was just for me. I got really scared because of the first hemorrhage, that maybe if I gave birth naturally to twins, the second one, can sometime, they kind of I got scared looking into the whole thing, and I decided to have a C-section.
Okay.
And I said, I made that decision, and I don't think that's like the right decision for every woman to make. And I think everyone has to, and that's what I believe so strongly in. It's not the right way. There's no one right way for anyone, and we have to know ourselves, know what we can handle, know what we want to go into. What are we, you know, what are and have a lot of compassion for ourselves, because I really was I felt too afraid to go in and have a natural birth in a hospital because the birthing center wouldn't have me there, and I felt I don't wanna do that. So, I had a C-section, and I found this hospital that would allow me to breastfeed the babies right there in the operating room. So they took the babies, brought them to me. I had the and so, it was a scary I mean, it really birth is scary in a lot of ways for everyone, no matter how you look at it. Um, and babies come in so many different ways.
Mhm.
Um, and it was a beautiful birth in and of itself. There was that opportunity to do that, and have them. I recovered well from the C-section. Um, and then the next two I had I decided, because I had a C-section, the birthing centers wouldn't take me. So I said, I'm really tired. I'm like 30, I think I was 39. I don't know. I can't remember. People ask me, what were the years your babies were born? I'm like, I know the first couple. I remember everything about them. The last ones, I don't know. So, but I was somewhere around 40, and my the pregnancies were harder. It was harder on my body.
Mhm.
Um, and so I went in and got an epidural on both of those, and had, so I I did all of that, and I'm glad I did those things, because that's what my body was telling me, "Hey, this is what you can handle right now. This is it."
Mhm.
And, yeah, and I always say that, like, with my daughter when she had her baby, I said, support you in whatever you want to do because you have to know your capacity. And as a mom, I think it just translates to being a mom too. You don't have to be making cookies with your kids. If you don't want to cook, don't cook. You can do something else. You are you. You bring the best self that you have to your kids and they can cook with the neighbors. I don't know. They can learn different things. If you if you like um reading books at night, for example, funny enough, like I don't really like reading to my kids, but my mom loved it. She loves reading. She'll read all day, all night. But then my oldest daughter loved it. So, and my son loved it. So then they will read at night to the kids. I get tired at night. So I'm like, I'm not do I will sometimes go in, I give them kisses, I hug them, and we're doing whatever snuggle time, but I was never really into like reading to the kids. And we think we have to do all of these things, but like our kids just want to know us and like that's it. Like love them and be there, like be the best self you can be.
Oh, I love that. It's such a powerful message. And, we just can't hear it enough. So, so thank you for sharing on all of the births.
I think that just in general, our world is, there may be things that may be better, people are, big proponents for healthy births and maybe getting away from the medicalization that doesn't need to be there. But we are living in a world where there's a lot of pressure and on mothers. And it isn't, so it is difficult to sometimes advocate for ourselves and to put more pressure on women to do something that, they've been told, midwives even will tell you, if you don't do this, what do you want? You're going to kill your baby. I have heard this. And I had to make decisions against medical doctors, and I know how hard it is. And so I think always thinking like we can advocate in general for education of women in birth and for people in general to help support women in doing that. But the biggest thing in the end is just to help women feel connected and loving of themselves. And it's okay, whatever happens, whether I breastfed all my babies. And I've been with women that had a really hard time breastfeeding. And I know that it was very difficult for me, especially the first baby. Um, and I just had a certain mindset and I going into it that I was going to do it. And I had to actually lie to all the nurses in my first birth because my baby wouldn't latch, but I knew that she was fine. And I actually told the nurses, like, no, she's nursed this long on this side, that long on that side. And she hadn't nursed until we got home. And I just knew, I was like, I don't want them to create a whole problem. But I
Right.
know that like
Right.
it happens. And then once that happens, it's very hard.
Yes.
You're in a hard situation. And the nurses and everyone also, everyone's trying to do their best.
Yeah.
Everyone is trying to do their best. And so um, children and women and humans in general are very resilient and like believing in that and knowing that like this is a new day, this is a new moment, and you can always make a different decision and we don't have to worry about all the decisions that we made or that were hard on ourselves if we didn't do enough. um, because just being there and loving your children through and loving yourself is like 99% of what you have to do in order to like be successful, really, like have children that are going to be good people.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. And I think I just want to like pull out this very critical point that you're making is like, yes, you can choose the best doctors, you can pick the best case scenario for you, you can, support all the learning and all the things, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to you specifically. And I think that that empowerment is one so lacking just in general. So thank you for being an example and like sharing that message. I think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
So as you go through motherhood, uh, and people have told me this, and I am like, I think as a personal, I'm like finally experiencing it, but there's like seasons of motherhood. Can you talk about like how your family has like, I don't know, evolved or how you have evolved with everyone as like being a mother to one, to two, and then that 5 year gap, and then twins, and like how have those seasons worked for you?
Yeah. Um, so I think going into, and I hear this from a lot of women, but for it definitely was for me that that first 10, 15 years, it's a long time, but the first 15 years for me, really was, and it could probably mostly in that 10-year was I was so excited about everything. I was excited to, have, cookie parties with all the kids coming over and making things and having kids come to my house. And we were crafting and having a garden. And my kid, we ended up having a, 6-acre little farm. I was like, I want a farm. I want to milk cows and I want to make kefir and yogurt and cook every single thing we can cook and teach the kids how to cook and bake and do gluten-free everything. Um, and healthy, just I'm a really big healthy, you know, food person and
Mhm.
living and kind of minimalist as far as, just really I think in some ways it was really expansive and fun. And at the same time, I was really like controlling. Like, okay, no, we're at a party. Oh, my kid's gonna have that sugar. No, that's not gonna happen. We're gonna, I'm gonna always make sure that it's that perfect life that I had dreamed of, for me, what was perfect for me. And that was very like creative and expansive. And so in a lot of ways it looked like it was wonderful, but inside I was still doing that like controlling where it didn't look like so much. Although, people would get annoyed with me and my family. Why can't they have this? It's like Halloween. I'm like, "Okay, like, who give me all the candy. You can have one piece. I'll
Yeah.
switch it out with something else. I'll switch this, do this." And it was so it becomes, that was my way of controlling. It may not have been the way my mom did, so I didn't think of it as controlling.
Mhm.
I thought of it as like, yeah, this is just obvious. Nobody why do I wanna give my kids junk? Why do
Mhm.
and I was correct in a way,
Mhm.
and that kind of changed over time where I started to realize once my youngest kids got older, I realized, oh, like they're going to be fine. So we homeschooled. I've homeschooled the whole time.
Okay.
And so, and that was part of my creative life. Like I don't really like to, I felt very controlled. I didn't like school growing up. My mom was a school teacher. I was that kid that I did well, but I was talking and
Mhm.
not, was not really like and misbehaving in the sense that I wasn't paying attention when I needed to. I was like, oh, can I go to the bathroom again? Can I let it go? I want to be climbing trees right now. So I took recess like extremely seriously, just saying. And I loved all the arts and I took all of that very seriously. But yeah, I really did not like school and I wanted to be playing outside. So I thought, oh gosh, I can't. So for me, it wasn't very valuable to me to for my kids and to my mother's chagrin, it was like, what are they doing? They're not learning their times tables. They're not learning this. And I was like, it's gonna be fine. Like they'll be fine. And then over time, my oldest kids did do a little bit of high school, and it was funny because they were able to just jump into high school. My son is really good with math, even though he had never really taken much math, and he just like picked it up really quick. Because I just said, well, like they want to focus. He was like always focused on something. He was
Mhm.
building a tree fort, and I'm like, well, that's focus, right? And he would spend like his days doing that, or milking cows and training them, or doing whatever he was doing. So it's just very eclectic and, I really loved all of those, like, family things. Where that changed, and I don't know if it was just this change or if I changed, I think maybe it was a combination, but, about 5 or 6 years ago, I found out that my husband, who we had been together essentially for like 30 years, like best friends, my best friend in the universe, just the one person I trusted, and just, we just were so, I would say my soulmate. Like if I would, and I did talk to friends, and I thought, oh, people don't even understand what a soulmate is. Like I have this perfect and he was, perfect for me person that we just get each other. And it was just, he was wearing babies. We were, we were just doing everything together. He worked from home. We just lived very symbiotically and just connected. And what I wasn't good at, he was good at, and vice versa. And we helped each other. And one very I guess I'll just go into this because it's just here, but,
Yeah.
um, okay. Um, because it really is sort of the pivotal moment where things changed for me. It was Christmas Eve, and, we always had everything, and we put, there was candy canes, and, we hid the candy canes, and then I asked him, I said, "Where did you hide the candy canes?" And he's like, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, what do you mean you don't know? We have to put them on the tree. This is like the tradition." And he said, "Well, I don't know. I don't know." And okay, so um he went back to sleep. And then I went back to sleep after looking for a little while, and I hear this huge crash down in my kitchen,
Mm.
and I go in there, and he is on the floor with all the dishes. Um, and he, um I said, "What is going on?" He said, "I was just looking for the candy canes," and he had crashed down all the cabinet with all of our dishes in it, all down, and we had all the coming over to our house for Christmas morning, 3 hours from now. So I I said, "Okay, I don't know what's going on. Something is really strange. I don't know what's happening. Just go back to bed. I don't know what's happening." So I said, "Okay, I'm gonna find these candy canes." And I thought to myself, well, I know John, so I would know, okay, where would he hide something? And I I looked, and I just asked, like, "Okay, if I were John, where would I hide something?" And so I walked directly to this cabinet underneath, and I found, like, giant gallon or half-gallon bottles of vodka all under here, like, hidden, and they were half drunk, and I was like, and really, like, it was probably 4 in the morning at this point on Christmas, before Christmas morning, and
Yeah.
everyone's about to show up at my house, and, like, in a couple hours, because I always had the whole Christmas.
Mhm.
I'm sitting there, and my whole life just goes gunk, junk, 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 and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," all of the last, like, years of confusion of certain random things that happened that didn't make sense, all made sense, and I brought him out there, and I said, "Hey, what is this?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's what you think it is," and he went back to bed, and I thought, "I can't ruin Christmas." I cannot. I will not let Christmas be ruined. I will not. And so I started cleaning up all the plates, everything. I cleaned everything. I started making the Christmas breakfast. I made the Christmas meal. People came over. We had a whole Christmas, like we had already practiced with the kids, and John and I did our duet for the Christmas uh concert we put on. And I just would not allow for that to, like, go into my consciousness yet, like,
Yeah.
what I was going to do, but, and at the time, I think for a while, for a few years after that, I really felt, "It's okay, like, we're going to get through this," and I was forgiving, and we worked through it and worked through it and worked through it, and it just didn't ever change, and things got worse with him, um, to the point where there was some things he was doing that was dangerous for the kids, and I had to decide to, like, divorce. And through that time, I think I changed. I became, a friend of mine said, you have to figure out how to get back yourself, because I became like, I'm a very hopeful person. She's like, you as a person is like, without hope and excitement for life and the joy of life, like, I don't even know if you're you. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I know. Like, I wouldn't have had these children looking at them to say, you're coming into a hard, cruel world. No, I had children because I thought the world is amazing and I want them to see how amazing it is. And so
Yeah.
this really took, the challenge for me was to, and I prayed about it like every night, how can I forgive someone that has done this over this long and lied, and how could, the one person I trusted, and I, no matter what I saw, I trusted. And I still want to be a trusting, open, vulnerable person, because there would be no reason to live, if for me, if I didn't have that. And I wouldn't be able to give that to my kids. I don't want them to see that life is miserable,
Right.
um, or scary, or not really, not even that. I want them to feel that life is amazing and just endless possibilities.
Right.
Took me a while to get through that, and in that, you know, I think that change happened where I was then on my own with all 7 kids, which I didn't really realize was gonna happen, and it was kind of overnight. The police had to come to my house, like, I mean, I was in shock. There were things that happened that I thought, I had this perfect life. I have no idea. I've never experienced anything like this ever growing up. There was no violence in my house. There was nothing. There was nothing like this. So I was just in this world of going,
This is happening.
where am I? Like, I
Yeah.
didn't even know where I was. And I had this little baby because, we had just had a baby, when this all happened. And, and I really did, it was a struggle for me not to completely check out, but I was on the floor crying a lot of times, and my kids just around me, like holding me, like just holding my hand. And I was just like, this is okay. It's okay to cry like this, because I'm so sad, and you guys are too. And it's okay. Like, we can, but I just want you to know that no matter how much I'm falling apart, I am good for this. Like, I want you to know I'm strong enough to get through this, so you never have to worry about that. And this is part of the healing process, and it's okay, because I really loved my life. I loved my husband. I adored all of it, and I was thinking eternity, I was thinking that. So for me, I never even questioned any kind of divorce or things like that. It was not even a thought in my mind. So, especially after having 7 children, I don't think many people, go
Yeah.
in, do that to then be all by yourself. And, and then moving forward, um, to have, when to realize people can really, it's like we're really suffering. There's a lot of suffering. And I think that happened with my ex-husband. It was that he really, he is, I don't know him now the way he is, but I do know his heart. And he is a really wonderful person that did not do the work on himself and maybe for whatever reason, I'm not the judge of that. It was somehow he couldn't, um, bring himself to the beauty of life around him. The fact that he has these children that love him, that are loving, and, even now, want to reach out to him, but he actually will not even respond to them. And so that's like been, I mean, it's beyond, it's been a shock to my system. I mean, yeah, to go from complete connection to a death, but there's no funeral and the person is still there.
Right.
And how do I still love and be myself without becoming um, angry? And I talk to my kids about this too, like, to go into life and feel like you're the judge of anyone, like they're doing the wrong thing, they're not, whatever it is. It's like, yes, you can say this is a painful thing and it is not really the correct way to behave, but we don't know, you can't know what someone else is going through. And I know that I'm the lucky one because I did have the strength. I had that from my parents, my mom,
Right.
not my dad, but my mom raised me in a way that gave me that kind of resilience, and that I, no matter what's happened, been able to find that joy of life and still bring it to my kids and say, look, you can do this no matter what,
Right.
no matter what circumstances come out. And that really, and it that was a huge challenge for me. I at sometimes question, like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can financially support. I had never financially supported anyone, including myself.
Mhm.
I had a side business that we used like for vacation money.
Mhm.
And I had to figure out, okay, how do I support 7 kids right now? Emotionally, mentally, financially, spiritually, and come back to myself so I can give them that. And so that's where the change came. And so I feel like, in a way, I feel like that this is what had to happen. This is the plan that I did not know. This was God's plan for me. Um, and as much as I would have never asked for this, I am growing and learning, meeting people that I would have never known, and finding this part of myself that, wow, okay, I actually I can do things I didn't think I could do. And I can still find joy and freedom and playfulness in all of it. Like, like there is nothing that we can't be playful with, even things that seem tragic and horrific. Um, there's these, you know, everything is from God. Everything is there for you, not to be against you.
Right.
That's kind of, and so now this next season has been so interesting because I've been less, I guess, less of that hands-on mom where I'm making, doing all the things.
Right.
Although that's kind of coming back in,
Yeah.
but I'm been like, okay, now I'm a businesswoman.
Yeah.
And my kids, but my kids have always come with me to all of my stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, they teach with me, and I share, they're choreographing with me. I'm like, I gotta do this. We've gotta, we've gotta work this out. Or if I'm learning about business, like, hey, let's do this together. Can you help me with these numbers? What do you think? Do you think this will work? And sometimes my son, my 14-year-old, he's like, Mom, like, you're gonna be a millionaire. He's like, you could do that. Like, you're good. This is good. Like, don't sell yourself short, Mom. I'm like,
Gosh, so cute.
okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Priscilla, thank you for sharing that story. I think it's so powerful and like what um just like I just want to like honor your resilience and thank you for sharing your story. I think that's so important. So many of us can like take so much inspiration from that. Um this all happened when your littlest was young, right?
Like, I mean, it was happening pretty much right at the birth. I just didn't know it, but it was maybe like that 8 months later. Yeah.
Wow. So you have like been on this like whole other season by yourself. So when you are in the thick of it, I mean, w- what what is that those how did you do it all? How did you figure it out? Was it with the kiddos? Like how did you just like move on, move forward?
It really was a combination of allowing myself to completely I mean, I'm talking on the floor, ugly crying, bawling my eyes out, just I mean, and this is every day, probably multiple times a day, and then getting up, looking at myself in the mirror and being like, "You know what? You can do this. I don't know how, but you can do this." And, um, and driving along to do whatever I'm doing and thinking like, why is this on me? And then I realized, I thought, oh, that's because I will say yes. And I will say yes to my kids every day, no matter what. It may not be that they get everything that they want, but I am always thinking about how can I incorporate truth about me to my children to know that and to still help them know that they're safe in the world and that it's because of my creativity and desire for play and joy that is gonna keep our family safe. It's not from nobody needs to worry. I don't need the calls from family saying, I'm just so worried about you. I said, if you want to do something like, you can come and do something, but like I don't need the worry because I'm okay. Like I'm the best one in the situation because I have done the work on myself. I have always thought when things came up throughout my life, I delved into it. I worked through it. You know, this chapter has been a lot about like really recognizing that there are people out there that want to help and do help. So, a huge thing that a friend of mine called me and said, I know what you're going through. And I had gone through every credit card because my lawyer said, just use your credit cards and everything's going to be fine in the end. He'll have to pay it back because well, that did not happen. So all my credit cards got maxed out, and there was no getting anything. So I mean, it's somehow in the divorce, basically even the child support is so little for 7 children, and it's amazing. So, like, I get $2,500 a month for child support, and that's, like my ex-husband makes quite a good salary,
Mhm.
and you see them, but, it's interesting because at first it was like, and I'm sure people will hear this and be like, "You need to get this, you need to do that, you
Mhm.
need to do the other," and I've heard it all, and
Right.
I really appreciate it, like and I may do something about it, but what I recognized was, I'm paying for their all of the other things. So in the divorce, he's supposed to pay for a bunch of other stuff, but he doesn't. So it's like you have to go back to court and blah blah blah. And I thought, the only thing I do now with my ex-husband and as I just write him because he was my best friend and I just remind him of that every week. I said, "You're my best friend. I love you. Your kids love you. If you need anything, if there's something that you need,
Mhm.
please let me know if I can help you to come back to your children in some way."
Mhm.
So, um, that and, and just recognizing, like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing I'm supporting myself. I'm supporting my kids. I'm actually making this happen. And I want to focus on the positive things and show and if somebody wants to do something, if he wants to, he will. And that's okay because I can't make anybody I don't want to spend my life trying to make anybody do anything anymore. Um,
Right.
but I do want to just say that for anyone in this kind of situation,
Yeah.
I spent my time, during the week, between building my company again, in a different way, at the food banks and the anywhere that I could get free food or free clothing for my kids. And the people were so kind and generous, and they'd say, "Oh, They'd call back, "Oh, the woman with all the kids, and she wants the healthy food. We saved stuff for her." And they would bring out these piles of things, and I thought, and I would cry every time. They'd fill my van with food, and I thought, and every time I was like, this world, I reminded myself, and I just, instead of feeling like, "Oh, look at me.
Mhm.
I don't have anything, so I have to be here getting this free food." I thought, "Thank you.
Yeah.
I am being supported.
Right.
I'm being supported, and this is what I needed."
Right.
And whether it was money coming in or food or friends that brought clothes for my kids,
Mhm.
whatever it was, I just thought, "Thank you. The world is a supportive place. This is not it there are people out there, may not be always the people you want to help you, like, or you think should be helping you,
Yeah.
but we are all supported." And that's changed my life. I mean, I don't think I could have even gotten to this place and the way I am with what I'm doing in my life now if I hadn't experienced that, and the compassion for seeing everyone in those situations and being like, "Wow, here I am with nothing, and I'm being given this for nothing. They don't even know me,
Right.
and they're just giving me things."
Yeah.
And I'd never been given anything like that before. So I'd never even understood what that meant to go somewhere and say, "I need something," and somebody gives it to me.
Right.
So
Wow.
that it's how we learn things, the strangest and most uh, really miraculous ways.
Oh my gosh. Seriously. That's so powerful. Thank you for sharing. And I do think this sometimes when you are in those deep, dark places, thinking that there is no hope and no one around. I mean, thank you for sharing that message that there can be and there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about what work you do now, Priscilla, because I have been lucky enough to experience a small little sliver that I will tell you is just absolutely magic. So tell me what you're doing now and how you're helping women and all of that.
Yeah, and, it's so great, actually, the questions you're asking me because going from the whole story, I rarely do talk through this and where it really came to because
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer that we're given a path, and sometimes that path looks like, "Why this path? I don't want it," but then each piece brings us to the next step, and we don't know what it's gonna be. We just take that next step, and that's like, just take the next right step. And, so right now I am, and this was a guided, I mean, it's been, whew, an amazing journey of, I have had a musical theater company for kids for last 20 years. And so I have in Annapolis and in Sarasota. So Annapolis, Maryland, where I lived for most of um, my life, adult life. And and that's just empowering kids through singing, acting, dancing, putting on productions, but really recognizing the inherent worth and um, ultimate creativity and brilliance in every single kid, and bringing that out and not making it a competition and not making it who's the best, but how can we bring out the best in every single kid? And so that's something I've loved doing. And all my kids came with me through all, I was breastfeeding, nursing, teaching. I was pregnant, out to here teaching camps, running. You could see videos of me like pregnant, doing all kinds of stuff. So and I always brought my kids because I thought, people need to see real women doing things with their children.
Oh, I love
Um,
it.
so I didn't care, I no, and you know what? Not one person ever commented or told me I shouldn't do it
Wow.
or like, why am I doing that? So I would have them in a sling and I'd nurse and I'd be directing and singing and dancing and doing the whole thing. And they would just come with me
I love it.
for years. And now, this has been really a brewing thing in my mind of I saw this need for myself. So and for most of my adult life, I actually struggled with stage fright. And I think that came from early on some traumatic experiences in my teen years. And I just kind of closed more and more and more, which turned into, even though I was a performer, even though I'd performed tons on the stage and doing all kinds of things, this kind of crept up and then took over to where I couldn't step on a stage to sing. My voice was completely, just locked up. And that was another compassion point for me when I started teaching. I realized kids, people in general, were having the same thing. And so I taught from that perspective. It wasn't from, hey, look at me. I've been a performer. I've never experienced stage fright. So you shouldn't either. It was more, I get it. And a lot of kids came to me for that reason. But there was still a gnawing thing because I had put off that performing for so long and because it was scary to me and I didn't want the feeling. So I developed this stage fright. And then through that, I decided, okay, well, I don't really want to perform. I became a professional commercial singer in New York City. I,
That's
yeah, so it was
fun.
kind of behind the scenes. I did have to perform a little, but not a lot. And it was a lot of recording things. But then I started doing hip hop dance and that was kind of like I went away from musical theater for a while because I had so much nerves around it. Um, and it was kind of the sudden thing that just hit me. Um, so I started taking this hip hop dance class and loved it. And the woman who was teaching the class, I guess, had a hip hop funk dance company, and she's like, "How long have you been doing this?" I said, "Not really. I mean, I've been doing it in my room. I love dancing hip hop and all this stuff in my room." And she's like, "Well, you're really good." And so I became a part of the company, and then
Gosh,
does
Priscilla.
we were dancing and doing all kinds of stuff, and it was sort of out of my normal realm, so it didn't scare me as much. It was just fun. Um, so over time, I started teaching instead of performing, and I was very comfortable in that. And I actually think that's really my nature is to be a teacher. That's my biggest calling. I think is that kind of mentor teacher, coming up with things, being the director. I like that type of.
Yeah.
Yet, I think that part of me that was scared to perform still was like, "Hey, what about me?" Still wanna get out there. I still have things like I don't wanna end on a note where I'm too afraid to do that. And I do have things to say, and I do have a voice that wants to be heard. And I always thought, "Oh, I'm gonna do this cabaret show," and it's been in my mind, like, I wanna put on a cabaret show. And it never got to it. And it was just this past year, I kept getting message after message in my mind of, I gotta do this. Like, it's important. I feel it's important for me. And then I thought, oh, other people are gonna want to do this. This is so powerful because it scares me and it excites me. And I think when you have those two things together, that's when you know, like, that's the direction that you want to go. Um, so I I was kind of overwhelmed with all of my businesses and my kids and just feeling like I don't have time to sit and make a business plan. I don't know, I need to do this in this right way. And then I decided, I'm gonna go to this networking meeting in the morning and I'm just gonna say, like, once I don't even want to say, I don't want to do my 30-second pitch. I don't want to say things the right way. I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't care. So I'll just get up and say, I'm doing a cabaret. I need like 10, 20 women. Anybody want to do it? Just let me know. And I sat down and it was like I had, you know, brought out, I don't know, donuts or, something that everybody wanted. And I was like, oh, everybody's like, wait, who did you say something about this? What is this? I want to be a part of it. I don't know what it is, but I want to be a part of it. And then I got message after message of women.
No.
I I had a vision that you were going to do something. Like, I didn't even know who you are, but I saw you, and then I saw myself on a stage and they're just saying I was meditating one day. I had a dream. I had this. This is what I've been wanting to do. I didn't know. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna just step back, step into my own spotlight that I know that I have, even though I've been a very outgoing, outspoken person my whole life, there's a part of me that was always trying to make it palatable, thinking, oh, maybe this person needs this, or maybe if I say too much, or if I'm like too much of myself, it won't work. So I'll make it a little smoother or try to say it in a way that's more professional or I was doing all the things that we all do and I just decided I don't care anymore because I don't want to hear that. I don't care if anybody's professional. I really don't. I'm like tell me something that I want to do or like share something with me that's real. I want to hear like the real thing that's going on for people. And so I said, look, let's do a cabaret where anybody can join. I want to hear their stories because this is what I want to hear. I don't want to live in a community where it's a bunch of perfect people that look pristine and maybe they're suffering internally and I don't know it. And like me, people came up to me, oh, how do you do it? You look like this, you look like that. And I said, well, no, just remember, like this morning I was on the floor crying. It's okay. And I am happy right now, and I am doing well. I'm doing both.
Yeah.
And so how can we bring that in and realize so nobody's feeling that they're alone in being all of it. Like it's okay. Like all of it is beautiful. And so and then people's voices, they can't even sing for themselves because they've been their voice, what they, has been held back in so many ways and they've accepted it. And I think so many women and people probably in general, but are the ones that I'm working with right now are just desperate to be just their voice be heard and say all the things that they've been holding back, be all of the parts that they've pushed aside and bring them in and say, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't have, I found there was a lot of shame for me in the divorce. I thought, I don't want to tell people that I'm divorced because it'll kind of ruin my reputation as this like family loving person who teaches musical theater. I felt shame. And I realized, no, the more I shared it, the more I realized everybody had these things going on in different places in their life. And it was okay. Like I could still be loved. I could still be who I am, even with when things didn't go the way I expected them to. And that I wasn't judging other people in that way. So I was just feeling it internally. And so creating this cabaret, so it's the cabaret community, and it's been life changing. I mean, for me and so many people that have come to the cabaret and signed up and I get so many texts, people saying, I think like I'm this close to quitting, but I'm not gonna quit today because it's too scary. Like I'm too scared, but I really want to do it. And I thought, see, good. Like I was at a meeting this morning and I told that to the woman I was talking to, and we said, let's make t-shirts that say like, I'll quit tomorrow, not today. Because we're scared. It's okay. Like those are the things.
Yeah.
It's like it is scary. The unknown. Putting yourself on a stage and saying, hey, look at me. I have something to say. My body can move. I can move my body in ways that I don't need to worry if someone's going to think that I'm showing off or too sexual or this or that or whatever they think. It's okay. Like, and more than not, I found that everyone wants to do this. So the judgment has been very little, if any. It's only coming from our
Oh my God, I was gonna Totally. I was just gonna say, I feel like and, tell me, maybe it's because it's that time in our lives where it's like that feeling to come back to ourselves or that feeling of like, I do wanna feel sexy again. What is it like to sing? I do want to have a thrill that is completely not myself again, or, you're, like, doing that. And that was, one, I'm so thankful I got to witness just a small sliver. And that feeling is overwhelming. And it's so beautiful because it's in community where oftentimes I think women have those feelings or urges or wants and needs, and it's not quite sure where to funnel that.
Mhm.
So, okay. But how did you come up with the cabaret? Like, was it and when did you move to Florida? Like, was it here in this community where you were like, "I'm gonna do the cabaret," or was it somewhere
It was
else?
here. It was just from my own
Yeah.
vision of something I know that I've been working on in myself, and it had healed me so much, singing and getting back into it myself. Um, and I realized actually a couple parents came up to me, mothers after having their kids in my camps and said, "Are you doing something like for me? Is there something for me?" And I was like, okay. Yes. Yes, there is. And yeah, and I thought, "That's it, just a cabaret where women can get up and be themselves, dance in a way that's, like, sexy and sensual, whatever that means to them, and, yeah, experience that because w what's wrong with that?" Like, we have come to this culture where, especially as a mom, you have to dress a certain
Yeah.
way, you have to act a certain.
Yes.
And that takes away from the joy and excitement that you wanna show your kids. Like, you want them to grow up, we put them in dance classes and we're like, "Oh, shine on the stage and do this," and then suddenly they're just not,
Yes.
and they're not allowed to do that anymore. Why? I continue to have my musical theater company with the kids and doing all of that,
Yeah.
and I still have that. At the same time, I knew there was something more that I wanted to do, that I needed for myself. I needed to go back to that woman or person or girl, really, and what happened to her? Where did her voice, um where did I stop speaking my true voice? And and why, no matter what I'm doing out in the world, no matter how successful, no matter how confident I am in doing all of these other things, was there still something telling me I need to go back to that girl and reclaim her voice?
Yes. Okay. Okay. So what is the vibe now? What is the season right now? And what are you doing?
I'm in this season, I've gone back to, like, I'm reclaiming all of myself. So it's a sexual season of being a mom. Like, I mean, I always wanted those things and it was always a part of my life, but um it was a healing journey for a long time. Even feeling parts of myself, being able to feel, doing all of this stuff, and then recognizing like um moms miss all of that. So many mothers, you feel like you've got to do one or the other. And the reality is, um, the fact that our, our birthright is to have pleasure, to feel good, to feel beautiful and excited about life. And, putting all of that, like feeling turned on to life. And that doesn't take you away from your kids. That's showing them that life is exciting. I remember as a kid thinking, I'd look at adults and think, oh, I do not want to turn into that. And I would, I was just thinking, oh, it looks miserable. They don't look happy. Is that what I'm going to turn into? And I didn't want to. I just wanted to stay a kid forever because of it until I saw a
Mhm.
couple adults that looked like they were having fun. And I thought, okay, I can do this. This could be fun. and I can do it in my way. And I think now, um, even through the challenges where I thought, I don't want to be by myself. I love having a partner. I love all of these things. And I'm like, okay, well, I could look back and think, why aren't things happening the way I wanted them to? Or I can say, oh, I'm missing the stuff that is happening right now. The beautiful community of women that I'm sharing my true self with, and they're able to then share their true self. And then I'm scared too. I mean, we're gonna get on the stage together. And I said, I don't know how it's gonna turn out, but it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. Ah,
One way or the other, whoever's in the audience, whoever's doing it, a part of it, all of it, it's something that it's like this feminine energy of non-linear, going for it, not controlling the outcome, and just showing up and saying, hey, this is who I am. This is all of me.
I I think what was, like, so beautiful, at your Christmas party was to see just how excited everybody is to have the opportunity to sparkle, to shine on stage, to have a moment in the spotlight. It's a very special thing to offer space for people to explore that or to be curious about it. Thank you so much for offering that space. You can just see it in the people around you. It's really wonderful to witness.
I have just said that anybody who wants to be a part of it in any capacity, just reach out to me, because that's what this is about, uplifting women, whatever it is you want to do. If you want to do something and you feel like it'll collaborate and work with the cabaret, yes. And if you want to be friends of the cabaret, if you have a business that you think that the women in the cabaret would really love, and that would work well together, there's sponsorships that can really benefit different, small businesses and bigger businesses as well. So just reach out to me, and we're doing it.
My God. Well, thank you so much, Priscilla. Thanks for your story. Thank you for sharing vulnerably and just being honest and open and doing the work that you're doing. It's
Thank
incredible.
you.
It's an honor to have
Thank
you
you,
here.
Elsa.
Thanks for listening to It's a Circus. If today's episode made you feel a little less alone, share it with a friend who might need it too. We are building something amazing at the Turner Brothers Circus, an entire space designed for parents to find connection, laughter, and support. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Remember, you're doing better than you think. Stay grounded, stay real, and embrace that beautiful mess. And as always, the show must go on. Until next time.